John Felt here, and this is the Blue Water Outlook Weekly Weather Briefing, January 17th. We're getting in the core part of winter, and I'm going to be certainly have a lot of cold and winter themes in this briefing. So let's get to it right away. Here are our impacts. We're looking at Great Lakes, Northeast areas of snow squalls, high winds in the plains, and maybe some expansion of the snow in week 2, sort of a question mark there. But the Great Lakes, Northeast, is where we could get that snow. Now look, is that a La Nina winter? I think it could be. You know, I've been looking at La Nina, and even though there's this westerly burst that's moving across the Pacific, supposed to knock that down, so far it's sitting in there to a weak to borderline moderate La Nina. Our jet stream alignment up here, where we sort of bow up to the north and come down to the south, that looks pretty similar to La Nina to me. Now this was last week. Had some heavier rain down in the southeast. Other than that, a pretty quiet week. We did get a bit of snow. Great Lakes are still mainly ice-free, so we're getting an enhancement of snow. But really, I think this has been the story so far this winter. The Great Lakes, parts of the upper Ohio River Basin, and parts of the Northeast is where we've been getting the most snow. But there's not a lot of snow on the ground for this time of year. So I'm starting to think about spring snowmelt flood potential this spring. Now, the dense snow on the ground, it has an impact on our current weather, and certainly it has some thoughts on future weather. And right now, over the Missouri River Basin, Midwest, Ohio River Valley, not much snow, if any. So right now, that spring flood risk would be on the low side. Now, a lot can change. So this is a time of year we really look for clues for potential spring issues. Okay, so really cold Arctic air in place this morning, this weekend. You can see current temperatures this morning. We started out last week with some milder weather before the Arctic air moved in. And the coldest temperatures of the week last week, blue was below 0. I think we're going to definitely see that expand by next week's briefing. So we're in an Arctic ridge pattern right here through the end of the month. That's orange. This is what we get. We get the jet stream bowing to the north. In Alaska, dipping to the south. This is associated with cooler than normal weather, colder than normal weather. This is associated with warmer than normal weather. And you can see that right here. In addition, we have these lobes. Each one of these red lines is a lobe that's rotating around that displaced polar vortex. Each one of those lobes reinforces the cold air. So we get some real intense cold air, pulls back a little bit, the next lobe comes by, get another reinforcement. Now meanwhile, look at the West Coast. The West Coast is going to have some real nice milder weather. Okay, by Thursday, you can see those lobes. We're sort of middle of the nation, sort of in between one. But then as this one comes down, it'll be another push of colder air and perhaps some snow. Take a look at the end of the month, and you can see by the end of the month, we are still in this pattern, a ridge of high pressure in the west, a dip in the jet stream in the east. So if you're in the west, you're going to get some pleasant weather temperature-wise. If you're in the east, you're going to be having some very harsh and maybe even extreme cold weather. And you can see that on these 15-day, 5-day chunks, how that cold air lingers to some degree over the eastern half of the U.S. and how that warm weather, relatively warm weather, is in the west. And matter of fact, look at all the blue shades in Florida. This is going to be pushing down into Florida, bringing some cooler air to Florida as well. Okay, so Monday morning we are going to have temperatures in the single digits to below 0 in this area, showing the next pulse of cold air pushing in. Let's talk about rain and snow. Well, we're going to have this northwest wind blowing across the mainly open Great Lakes, and you get that cold Arctic air blowing over the open waters, and you get an enhancement of snow in the Great Lakes. And it could be pretty significant. You can see where that is. Other than that, I don't see any major storms, but really the Great Lakes, upper Ohio River Valley, and Northeast is where we've had the action for snow. I think that will continue to be where we're going to have the action for snow most of this week. Now, I did want to point out that this area in here, there is a chance late this week into maybe next week, maybe getting a little bit better chance for snow in the Midwest. We'll see. Right now, that's out there a ways, and it's a little bit of uncertainty. Okay, so week two right here, weeks 3 and 4. What do we see? Southwest, still unusually mild. North, central, northeast, that cold lingers. So if you're in Chicago, if you're in Detroit, you are going to be having maybe up to 4 weeks of below normal temperatures. If you're down in the Southwest, you're going to have Las Vegas, you're going to be having some really mild weather as we go forward. So that's this week's briefing. And if you like my information, you can always pass it on to others and they can sign up to get notification. Just go to bluewateroutlook.com and you can sign up there. Have a great week.